Welcome again to the last session on Sohrab and Rustam by Matthew Arnold. And for the university examinations, we can be asked a question to critically appreciate the poem or discuss the poem as an epic, which we have already done in our last session. And today we take up the last question that can be asked in the examination, that is Arnold as a poet and the special features or characteristics of Matthew Arnold as a poet. Arnold is considered to be a man of intellect. When they say man of intellect, because he was an author of modern times who appealed directly to the educated classes. And more, not just a poet, but his prose, his verses, his criticism, he's always talking about judgments and making difference between tone and spiritual quality. The kind of loftiness, the kind of courage and the grace or exactness, as critics say, that he possesses makes him a very unique poet. And his poetry, which was written in the early manhood years, reflect his inner self. And the more lovable side of his nature when he writes prose, he is presenting himself as a critic and a reformer, pointing the qualities of, or rather discriminating between good and bad. And this, we can say that the exceptional quality of his verses, the poetic career of Arnold began and ended somewhere in between 20 years. And the reason for this is that his poems rank up among the high literary productions of the last century. And as a very popular poet, along with Tennyson and Longfellow, his poems are very classical, too unattractive in the subject, we can say, that because they are inclined more to the emotions rather than to the intellect. And when he talks about himself, he says in one of his letters, poems are making their way, I think, thou slowly, and are perhaps never to make way very far. There must always be some people, however, to whom the literariness and sincerity of them has a charm. They represent the main movement of the mind of the last quarter of a century. Thus, they will probably have their day, and people will become conscious to themselves of what that movement of mind that is, and interested in the literary productions which reflect it. Now, when we talk about the poetic culture that Arnold possessed and developed or reflected, we say that sources of his culture were classical. And I quote here one critic who said he turned over his Greek models by day and by night. Because in Greek models, Arnold found his ideal standards and he brought comparisons between those Greek models. Homer and Homer, he said, were props of his mind because he was so fascinated by Homer and also by Sophocles. And for Sophocles, he said, who saw life steadily and saw it whole. Among the other Greek scholars or philosophers that influenced Arnold were Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, whom he called the purest of men. Now, these natures afforded him repose and consolation. So, Greek epic and dramatic poetry and Greek philosophy, it appealed profoundly to him. And one of the Greek poets he wrote that no other poets have lived so much by the imaginative reason, have made their way work so balanced, as the poets satisfied with the thinking power. And any other English poet, he was prized among the qualities of measure, proportion, and restraint. In the sincerest endeavor, we see that he was presenting the confusion of times and the sore guidance and the soul footing. The radical difference between the poetic theory of Greeks and our own Arnold says is this, that poetical character of the action is represented very beautifully in the Greek classical poems. And Arnold illustrates that the unity which gratifies his poetical sense has approached very close to the Greek models in very numerous instances, particularly in his great epic or narrative poems. And because Sohrab and Rustam has been prescribed in the syllabus, so this also has been borrowed from a classical story. So we could not better do to understand Arnold, because again I quote here one critic who says that in Matthew Arnold's style and manner, he seems to recall the great masters, and to recall them was a great gift because he recalled them naturally, without any strained sense or jarring of imitation. Our great masters, he proclaims that he is one of them. Now, we see that no man who attains the great style, Matthew Arnold, he can be compared to Milton also at times by the critics. He says will be at a leaven and a power, because the great style which was currently popular in English literature, his desire or Arnold's desire for culture and perfection or destiny, it prepared him to convey a message from borrowed from the ancients because he loved them so well, and also the English mannerisms or the tongue that was probably taught by the classical writers was perfected by Arnold in majority of his poems. And we see that the Greeks, they have recognized three kinds of poetry: lyric, dramatic, and epic. And Arnold was one poet who tried all three of them. But first of them, he was a lyricist. So we discuss the qualities of Arnold as a lyricist, because we see that lyrical poetry is the artistic expression of the poet's individual sentiments. So we see that unlike the epic in drama, there is no preferred verse or meter, but in a lyric poet, it leaves the poet free to choose or invent appropriate forms. And Arnold in this species was not wholly at ease, and he also said that he searches in vain a whole course of poetry which was bleak, musical, grey, or serious. And the fundamental question of the poet's mind and temperament was presented through his lyrics, where he says that Arnold's lyrics, they are not very good because they have metrical faults, which combined with some questionable rhymes, we can say, because he introduced and experimented with those rhymes. The necessity of employing or adapting these forms, he was notably when we compare Arnold with his contemporaries, or say Tennyson, we found that he was inferior to Tennyson in certain aspects as far as lyric was concerned, but certain considerable portions of his lyric cut into lines of different length. And we have a quotation from Merope here, which clearly shows how he failed at producing a typical rhyme scheme, which was peculiar quality of a lyric. Then, when we talk about Arnold as a dramatist, drama, we know that it is an imitated human action and it represents human life by means of dialogue, acting, and stage accessories. And as a dramatist, Arnold achieved not very great success, but because the fundamental qualities of his mind stood in his way. Because he was a subjective author, an author very subjective, so observed with self scrutiny and introspection, will not be able to project himself into the minds of others any considerable extent. So his dramas are brilliant when we look at beautiful phrases, because his pictures of landscapes, nature in various aspects. But in the main, he fails to handle the dramatic manner, which impresses to the quality of a drama. And also, he lacks individuality and independence in speech and actions. And many of his situations where he produces characters like Ulysses, he plays the role of a subordinate. Then, when we talk about Arnold as a writer of epic and elegy, we know that epic poetry narrates a very grand style. And in these two forms, both epic and elegy, Arnold is considered to be the best. Because the poem which has been prescribed, that is Horab and Rustam, which is considered to be the noblest poems in English language, the rapidity of action, the plainness of thought, the plainness of diction, nobleness of humor, all find place in his epic poetry and drama. When we talk about the Greek spirit in Arnold, it is said that certain classical subjects, Arnold's affinity with the Greeks is manifested, and his poems, both in spirit and form, reflect the moods which are common to the Hellenes or the Greeks. So it is the pagan philosophical thought, the stoical times, the patience, the endurance, or the Christian types are clearly reflected in Arnold's poetry. Then we have another quality of Arnold, his attitude towards nature. He is often compared to Wordsworth because a close study of his poem reveals that nature appealed to Arnold both in mood and his presence. So he offered a kind of a temporary refuge from the modern life. Nature was soothing, consoling, and uplifting power of nature was perceived by Arnold as it was perceived by Wordsworth. So Arnold urged all men to follow nature's example, to produce and possess the qualities of nature in their lives. Now, when we talk about Arnold's attitude towards life, we see that he dwelt upon the appreciations and the biographical life of Arnold or sketch in his volume. We see that he reflected a very higher development or a kind of a stern life in the beginning, and then later on the contrary, he developed the self-reliance and the functions of the soul, and he preached actually fortitude and courage in most of his poems. And as a reformer also we see Arnold functioning to make dissatisfied with themselves men who are dissatisfied. So a kind of a confrontation or insistence upon superiority has been found in most of his poems when we look at Arnold as a his philosophy towards life. Now, the later part of these slides are notes on the poem Sohrab and Rustam or references to the poem Sohrab and Rustam, which we have discussed in our earlier slides. So, for your convenience, I have put these notes in these slides so that you can just make notes, and the PDF also will be shared to you in the WhatsApp group. So, you can just have a quick look at the notes, and it will be easier for you to paraphrase the poem after these notes available to you. Thank you.